The series starts under a dark cloud and a weirdly looking red moon. A lady jumps towards the wall, and she screams while looking at the moon. On the other hand, the seven shadows have their regular meeting, and they meet with their Lord Shadow. It really seems like all things are going according to their plans, as there has been silence with the Diabolos cult at Midra City, and all their plans have entered into actualization. Unfortunately, they must decide on an unfortunate event developed in the Lawless City. They tell their Lord Shadow there has been a suspicious transaction in the Lawless City. Many funds had been sent into the city, which has given them a lot of concern since the Lawless City is known for their weird ways. The city is in the middle of the earth, so it is no one's land. They report to their lord that the land belongs to no one, and if any bad incident occurs in the city, it will affect every other city, so they have to do something. Although it is to their regret, they have to put aside their plans and deal with that first. The Shadow Lord tells them that he can see what they are talking about and the doom is coming. Suddenly, there is a very loud noise in the sky. The cloud shifts, and it reveals a red moon. They all gaze at the sky, and they see that trouble is booming. It is nothing else but the legendary red moon, and it brings fear. They tell their lord they have to find a solution as fast as possible. But the Lord Shadow tells them they don't have to worry about that because he would sort it out himself. They aren't comfortable with that decision since they know it is risky and their lord may die. He wonders if they do not trust him and says he would use the best means, although they admit it is a very successful means. And as they look at a beautiful naked girl in front of them, the Lord Shadow asks them if they don't think the moon is beautiful. They all kneel to his front as they all admit that the moon is truly beautiful and they can only enjoy the beauty because they have the Lord Shadow. They pledge their allegiance to him and set out. At the Lawless City, two strangers watch the city from afar. They wonder why the other people do not get nearer to the gate and say they are cowards and don't think they can fight the vampires. The Lawless City is a city that houses the Fujita vampires. The Queen of Vampires heads it, and everyone is afraid of the city. The men insist they can find their way into the city, but before they get to the gate, a vampire approaches them, asking them who they are and why they want to enter the city. They try to brag about their strength, and the vampire removes his clothes and reveals his injured arm. He brings out his sword and attacks them, and in split seconds, their blood splashes all over the sky and the red moon is revealed again. On the other hand, two siblings, Minoru and Claire, are visiting the Lawless City. Minoru doesn't know why they are in that city, but Claire has dragged him there. However, he is excited to see a new city, and he loves how great it looks. She tells him that he shouldn't call any attention to them because she doesn't want anyone to know she is there. Since he doesn't really know the purpose of their visit, he asks her where they are going. Claire's plans are much different. She wants to visit the Dark Knight Association before doing anything else. He doesn't know what the Dark Knight Association do since it doesn't exist in their city. She further explains to him that they have their own association in their city, but the Dark Knight Association is a secret association formed in the Lawless City. He doesn't want to understand. He knows his sister can't make a wrong decision. He recalls that some time ago, he was pronounced dead. Well, that is what it seems like. He was buried, but several events occur, and things happen that he doesn't even understand. But all he knows is that he is alive at the moment. Some days ago, Claire wins the Bushin competition. She is declared the winner, and he feels like celebrating her. He borrows the bar at the Miss Hoshu Chambers of Commerce and celebrates his sister. The celebration hasn't even ended when Claire tells him she is going to the Lawless City to kill vampires. She insists that he follows her, and he finds himself on the train. She tells him the reason she is taking him along is for his future, and if he leans from her well and trains well, she could fix him with the Midra Knight after his graduation. Well, that's a plus for him since he doesn't know what he wants to do after he graduates. It seems like she is reading his mind when she asks him about his future ambitions. He tries to deny that he doesn't have one. He claims he wants to keep it a secret, but she insists she knows he has no future ambition. They walk past a pet shop, and the seller tries to trick Claire into buying from him. He calls her a beautiful girl and pitches all his pets to her, but she refuses to buy them. She drags Minoru away, and he begs her to stop dragging him. She claims he would get lost if she left him. Well, she is right. He gets lost when he leaves their inn to get fresh air. He stands by the roadside and wonders how he will find his way back. Suddenly, one of the bandits drags his purse from his pocket. Well, Karmi is a bad bitch. He uses his magic to drag his purse away and also takes away everything the man steals from anyone. He keeps getting everything the man steals and walks around with the purses. Sudden fly, he sees some men beating him, a vampire underling. He knows vampire underlings to be strong and wonders why they are treated that way in the Lawless City. The men kill the vampire, maybe that's what they thought, but the vampire stands and becomes violent. He attacks them all, and the rumor Minoru has heard about vampires is that they infect anyone they attack. That seems to be the case as everyone the vampire bites becomes a vampire, and the moon becomes red again. He wonders what he should do, and suddenly, a lady comes and kills the vampires. She introduces himself as Mary, an ancient vampire hunter, and she advises him that he should run away immediately because a frenzy is starting. She immediately flies to the Red Moon, and he thinks about how adventurous the city is and how much he could enjoy it. Meanwhile, Cid's sister Cid Kagenou goes to Cid's hotel room, looking for him. And since she doesn't find him, she gets mad as she told him to be a good boy and stay inside his hotel room. At the same time, a man comes running out of the room beside Cid's, being chased by a ghoul who the man was trying to do us things with when she didn't transform into a mindless beast. Anyway, since the mindless ghoul is chasing a middle-aged man to eat him, Claire kills her with a kick to the face before the ghoul can hurt the man. Even though Claire just saved the man, he becomes terrified of her and apologizes to Claire out of fear. The man doesn't understand what's happening but still thanks the woman for saving him. Yet she doesn't give importance to that and asks the man instead if he has seen a young, dark-haired, and dark-eyed boy, implying that she is focused on looking for Cid. The man, of course, doesn't know what Claire is talking about and thinks that she is insane. He grabs the nearest thing he can find to protect him, in this case, the dead ghoul. But once Claire leaves from there, wondering where Cid went, the man then notices that he has been grabbing the dead ghoul tightly this entire time. Somewhere else in the city, 2 students of Cid's academy are seen to be in the red light district, looking for trouble and, of course, women. One of them thinks that this will be their night to get laid, but I think that they are just going to lay some eggs, as something will happen that will make them act like chickens. Anyway, even though these 2 boys know that they will get expelled from the academy, they don't turn back, as this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for nerds like them. But their excitement ends as they get kicked by a group of ghouls from behind, making them realize that they are about to be dead. So, they turn into a bunch of chickens like I said they would and run away as fast as possible, screaming like chickens. Hearing them screaming, a woman named Marie in a nearby building wakes up from her sleep, wondering what's going on, and reveals that she is being forced to do nasty things with other men. She looks outside the window, thinking about what worse could happen in her life, and sees that the streets have turned into a scene from the Walking Dead movie. As her fear kicks in, a ghoul enters her room and comes to attack her. But of course, in this life or death situation, the mastermind behind all scenes, the eminence in the shadows himself, Cid, comes flying there and saves Marie from the ghoul. He informs Marie about the frenzy that is causing the crescent moon to turn people into ghouls, and so he tells her to run away as far as possible. After informing Marie about this, Cid fades into the shadows again. At that moment, Marie's friend comes inside the room and learns from her being saved by the shadow himself. So, she gets confused as to why the shadow saved her since he is notoriously known for being an evil mastermind. However, Marie doesn't think Cid is evil, and to show her support for him, she decides to run from here and break her contract, even though there's a chance that it will cost her life. Speaking of running away from the frenzy, a woman named Yukime doesn't think that anyone will ever be able to escape from this hellhole. Her 2 subordinates come there, telling her about the situation. The vampires have turned people into ghouls, so she gets up and decides to finally take some action. On the other hand, Claire seems to have found Cid torn apart into pieces, and seeing him have such a miserable death, she begins to mourn for him and tells his departed soul that he shouldn't have left his hotel room. Iris comes there, telling Claire that the dead guy she is holding is not actually her dead brother and instead is a random person. Hearing that, Claire finally takes a better look at the dead body, and she too realizes that that is indeed not Cid. So, she gets disappointed instead of being relieved and asks Iris if she knows where Cid is. Iris indeed reveals to her where Cid is and tells her that she saw Cid laughing like a maniac down in the streets where the ghouls have gone on a rampage. But of course, Claire doesn't believe her, as she thinks that Cid is just her whiny little brother who doesn't have the guts to even be here in the ghoul apocalypse. But she still agrees to listen to what Iris has to say and gets the misinformation that Cid has been taken away by the followers of the Blood Queen to the Crimson Tower, which is the castle of the Blood Queen. Claire doesn't understand why the followers of the Blood Queen would just abduct a random person. So, Iris explains that the followers have actually taken Cid to awaken the Blood Queen from her 1,000-year slumber, as she requires the blood of a living young man. Believing what Iris is saying, Claire takes out her sword and decides to work together with Iris to go to the Crimson Tower together. They both defeat many mindless ghouls on their way there and introduce themselves to each other as well. On the other hand, the 2 chicken boys are seen to be running away, and they still seem to not have regretted their decision to go to the red light district since they got to see 2 big golden globes. As the situation looks to be getting out of the hands of even the law enforcement agency of the town, the Shadow himself takes the responsibility to fix this mess himself. Mord Crimson gets the news that their plan to take over the city is working fine and also learns that Yukimo, Juggernaut, and the Shadow are the only ones standing as obstacles in their path of reviving the Blood Queen. Will Cid be able to fix everything once again? The great vampire guard of the Great Tower stands at the tower as he sees the red moon. He doesn't care about the moon, and neither does he care about anyone that is dying or dead. What he cares about is that since there is commotion around, he could find humans to kill, and he could kill several people. It is unfortunate for him that he meets someone much greater than him. Until that moment, he had always believed he was the greatest person ever, and he lived for his great mission to fight. He feels he is living to keep killing, and until that moment, he never knew what being killed means. As he is about to come down to fight, he sees a strange figure. The smell and everything that comes with it makes it so obvious that the figure is stronger than him. It is no other person than the Great Cleaver. He is the head of the Black Tower, and his sharp sword outstands him from any of the leaders. He is known as the Juggernaut of the Tower, and everyone fears him. The vampire realizes that he can't come down when the head of the Black Tower is there, so he stays by the gate and watches. At about the same time, a white feminine figure comes out. With her 9 tails, it is very easy to connote that she is one of the great fox leaders. Upon looking at her, he realizes it is the leader of the White Tower. She is Yukaim, the spirit fox. He wonders why the leader of the Black Tower and the leader of the White Tower are coming to the front of his gate. He wonders why they have come to spoil his fun because all he had wanted was for him to kill anyone. He knows that the 2 tower leaders are enemies, and he doesn't know why they are together, but he knows that they have one more mutual enemy, which is the Blood Queen. They speak to each other after killing all the vampires at large. Later, another figure appears from the moon. The red moon throws the man covered in black clothes. They turn to him, asking him who he is, and he tells them he is the Shadow, the one who works in the shadow and hunts in the shadow. After his introduction, Yukaim informs them that the Dem has taken over the Midger royal capital. The giant clearer doesn't care about that. He claims it isn't his business, and he makes his way to leave. He says that he will be leaving them, and he warns Yukaim that he doesn't want to meet her again because if he sees her again, he will kill her. Before he goes, Shadow calls him back and calls their attention to the red moon. He says the red moon has come, and the frenzy has started. However, the giant clearer doesn't know what the red moon signifies. He recalls a time in history when the red moon appeared and destroyed 3 cities, which seems like a pleasure to him, and he doesn't care. He walks away but hits the gate and breaks the gate completely. Yukaim also attempts to leave. She recalls that Shadow had saved some of her people, and she appreciates him, hoping they would be friends for a long time. The vampire wonders how strong the Great Clearer could be. The gate is made of artifacts, and the giant clearer broke the gate with his sword. He is angry that he couldn't find any victim that day, and as he is about to give up on killing, he sees a Shadow. He doesn't notice any power on Shadow, and he assumes that Shadow is weaker than him, so he decides to take Shadow as his prey for the day. He jumps down from the tower, but Shadow cuts him off before he reaches the floor. He is shocked about what has happened. He can't fathom how strong Shadow could be, but before leaving, Shadow tells him the frenzy is starting. On the other hand, Claire goes to the library to read information about the possessed and the Blood Queen. As she does so, her partner comes out and slips. She gets angry at her partner, reminding her that she had planned that they wouldn't pay attention to themselves. After apologizing, her partner says she didn't know slime was in the library. Unknown to them, there are several other people there. Lady Beta of the Shadow Garden notices them, and she is disappointed. Her mission is to kill anyone who finds her because the mission is secret, and she is angry that she has found Claire and may have to kill her. She calls her name, and Claire wonders where she knows her from. She says she has the order to kill anyone, but she doesn't want to kill Claire. When Beta introduces herself, Claire wonders if she should kill her too because Beta was part of the people who destroyed her school. Beta talks about how Claire had been a vampire hunter for several years and says she will allow them to go on the condition that they won't disturb them. Beta explains to Claire that she is there to find the blood of the progenitor. The progenitor is the Blood Queen, and she claims they have an investigation to figure out if the blood of the Blood Queen can heal the possessed. When Claire asks if they have found out, she asks Claire to go on her way. Claire also noticed that she has partners like Mary, and she decides to leave them. Mary jumps in, claiming that she wants to save her brother because she has been captured to be sacrificed to the Blood Queen. Before Claire leaves, Bada asks her if she doesn't want to get a taste of the Haven. Claire doesn't respond, and she goes. Claire and her partner kill another vampire that they find on their way. Her partner notices something about her and asks if she is alright. She talks about how Claire talked as if she was supporting vampires earlier, and wonders what Beta meant when she asks Claire if she wants a taste of the Haven. Claire reminds her that she has been possessed for several years, and there has been no cure. She has been living for thousands of years so she can have secrets. Her partner acknowledges her situation and concludes that everyone has secrets. She, however, asks Claire not to interfere in her secret and promises not to ask about Claire's secret, too. Suddenly, they smell an influential figure. It is the giant clearer, and he has just finished killing a vampire. He is angry that the vampire isn't as strong as he had expected and decides to kill more to get his satisfaction. He asks them where the Blood Queen is and threatens to kill anyone who doesn't respond to him. Hiding from the Juggernaut, Mary tells Claire about him and claims that the Juggernaut is the boss at the Black Tower. And according to Mary, the one he is currently taking down with his bare arms is the most powerful vampire in this red tower. And the other two who just got bodied by Juggernaut are probably the number 5 vampire and the lost number. Although these fancy titles make these vampires look tough, in front of Juggernaut they look nothing more than livestock. Anyway, Mary also tells Claire that Juggernaut only managed to rise to the top because of his cruel nature and became one of the most powerful people in this lawless city. So she wishes to wait, hiding behind the walls, until he moves somewhere else, as she doesn't think ending up in a fight with him is going to be a good idea. Claire also agrees with Mary, but it seems they are not that well hidden. And because of the chit-chat that is going on between them, Juggernaut notices both of them and comes to get their heads. As he literally teleports in front of Claire and Mary, he targets Claire first, thinking that she is too much of a vampire, as he instinctively recognizes Mary as a vampire. So, he punches Claire down on the ground and then slices down Mary, saying how weak both of them are in comparison to the grunts he fought moments ago. Claire gets up again, only to buy Mary time, and stabs Juggernaut's feet in a desperate attempt, making him laugh hysterically. Juggernaut praises Claire for still staying in one piece, as he claims that his one punch is no less than the one punch of Saitama. Claire, in reply, also claims that Juggernaut is only the second person who has ever managed to hit her on the face, but hearing that, Juggernaut doesn't feel honored as he doesn't like to be the number one, and he attacks Claire with his sword. This time, Claire dodges the attack and turns to Mary to see whether she is alright. But as she takes a closer look at Mary, she finds out the left part of her body is completely cut down, including her left hand, and she is literally bleeding to her death. So, to save her, Claire ignores Juggernaut completely and begins to use her recovery magic on Mary to heal her wounds. But Mary herself stops Claire from healing her and tells her that the only way she is going to live is if Claire lets her suck her blood a little. Claire finds this weird, of course, and before she can give her consent, Mary kisses her on the lips, making her wonder how in the world this is the same as sucking someone's blood. Of course, Mary has to make even sucking blood look sexy, so she sucks the blood out of Claire's lower lip and recovers completely, with her vampire powers getting a big boost as well. Claire still remains in shock as to why Mary recovered, since she thinks Mary is not a vampire, and while she is standing in disbelief, Mary slowly walks toward Juggernaut, thanking him for giving her the time to heal like a typical anime villain who doesn't break the unspoken rules, and then begins to fire her blood magic at him. Juggernaut, of course, parries all of the attacks, making it clear that he is not a pushover, imbues his own magic in his sword, and attacks her with much more power. Mary claims that the blood of Claire isn't assimilated because she hasn't sucked the blood of someone in a while, and that is why her attacks aren't as strong as usual, while Claire is blinded by the debris flying everywhere because of Juggernaut's attack. Juggernaut leaps behind her to try to get her by surprise, and when she notices him, she realizes that she is too late to block his attack, meaning her death is inevitable. So, at her final moments, she apologizes to her little brother Cid for not being there for him in such a dire moment, and as she closes her eyes, accepting her death, Cid appears right behind her, disguised as Shadow, and sends Juggernaut flying away with a simple kick on his face. Shadow, of course, acting like the NPC he is, keeps repeating the words, "The frenzy has begun, we have little time remaining," leaving both Claire and Mary in wonder as to why Shadow is such a loser with no riz. Speaking of Shadow, Mary remembers hearing from someone that the church has apparently marked him as its enemy, which makes her wonder why he came to help them. Obviously, it's because Claire is his sister, but since they don't know Shadow is Cid, they put their thoughts aside and come to the more important matter, which is Claire sucking out Claire's blood and kissing her. I don't know which is worse, but according to Claire, she actually liked it because she apparently likes the occasional lesbian act. Anyway, Claire realizes that Mary's secret is that she is a vampire even though she is a vampire hunter, which leaves her questioning why Mary hunts her own race. So, to explain everything to her, including who she is or why she is here, and the truth about the Blood Queen as well, Mary goes back in time over 1,000 years ago, when the Red Moon was a blue moon and the lawless city accepted the vampires, as Mary claims that it was the golden age for vampires. They were free to hunt the humans, devour them like animals, and get away with it easily. But over time, humans learned about the vampire's weakness, which is the sun, and began hunting the hunters. With the game suddenly changing, vampires began vanishing from the face of the earth, and at these desperate times, the Blood Queen, Lady Elizabeth, began hiding among the humans as the ruler of a small kingdom. And because the Blood Queens decided to live in harmony with the humans and voluntarily gave up sucking blood, her subjects, including Mary, also stopped drinking blood and gradually lost their vampire powers. But in exchange, they gained other things in return: a life, the ability to live in the direct light of the sun, and most importantly, human friends. The thirst for the blood of the vampires ended, and the vampires were finally able to live in a beautiful world filled with endless light. But it wasn't the same case for Blood Queen Elizabeth, as no matter how far she distanced herself from human blood, because she represented the vampires, she remained a vampire and couldn't get herself into direct sunlight. And because her vampire characteristics didn't go away, so did her maddening thirst for blood. Whenever she got hit by sunlight, her skin would burn hideously. And still, for the betterment of her race, she decided to build a safe haven for everyone in the lawless city, thinking humans and vampires could finally coexist in peace. But that haven only lasted for so long because, when the Red Moon rose 1,000 years ago, Blood Queen Elizabeth gained tremendous power, including tremendous bloodlust. And seeing her starving for blood, her assistant Crimson pitied her and foolishly offered her a single drop. Because of this mistake, the vessel she surrounded herself in by making so much sacrifice broke, and she began her frenzy, hunting humans all over the city for 3 days and 3 nights. And when her hunger eventually satisfied her, her long-prepared haven disappeared with 3 total kingdoms suffering catastrophic damage, and Mary, her faithful servant, only survived by lapping up the blood of the dead. After regaining some power, Mary went on a pursuit to find Elizabeth. But by the time she got reunited with her, it was too late, as Elizabeth had long decided to end herself and stabbed herself in the heart right before Mary's eyes. But because she wasn't an ordinary vampire, she didn't disintegrate and remained in her eternal slumber from then on. Mary, still her faithful servant, began keeping an eye on her remaining. But that was a foolish choice as Crimson and his followers took over the tower and took the Red Tower under their control. Learning all of this, Claire also claims that she is no better because of her own secret and asks Claire if there is any chance for vampires and humans to coexist. She believes in herself and promises Mary to rescue her queen from Crimson's control. On the other hand, Shadow goes to the treasure room of the tower and finds a way to procrastinate by figuring out how much all these worthless treasures are worth. Crimson, on the other hand, reveals having the human sacrifice prepared and begins his ritual to revive the Blood Queen. But thankfully, Shadow goes there just in time and takes his head. Shadow follows the scene of a great fight between vampires, and he kills the last member. He assumes that having killed the last member, he would be able to find the queen and defeat her, but to his shock, he sees that the person he has killed isn't his original target. He wonders who the head of the entire team is and if he could be mistaken regarding the fight. He is sure that he had watched them till he got there, and he had assumed that there would be a leader. Since he can't find any regenerating strong leader, he assumes that the fight is a party fight where no one is the leader. Before giving up, he decides to check the underground and confirm if the queen hasn't rewoken before he leaves. After he leaves, the hair of his last vampire victim starts growing. Later, Claire arrives with her partner, and she calls out for Cid. She looks around and sees that Cid isn't there. On the other hand, her partner calls out for Queen Elizabeth. She wonders if the queen has rewoken and looks around. Claire tries to think about the entire issue. If Cid isn't there, it means that Cid is not the one they wanted to use for the sacrifice. She wonders if the Blood Queen has woken up, and she looks around. Her partner realizes that the Blood Queen has woken up. She tries to call out for Claire and warn her beforehand, but the Blood Queen uses one of her hair to stab Claire, and Claire collapses. Her partner tries to beg the queen not to kill Claire, but it doesn't look like the queen can listen to her at all. The queen drags Claire closer, and she reveals her vampire teeth aiming to suck Claire's blood. Her partner doesn't know what to do since she can't fight the Blood Queen alone. Fortunately, Lady Beta arrives with her assistants. They immediately drag Claire away from the Blood Queen's teeth, and before fighting the Blood Queen, they attempt to resuscitate Claire. Since she is possessed, the first aid doesn't seem to be enough to cure her, and they keep her there while Beta goes to fight the Queen. All her attempt to hit the Blood Queen seems abortive, and it seems like the Queen keeps regenerating herself. Eventually, Claire's partner confesses that although they are strong, they can't be stronger than the Blood Queen because she is known to wake late but strong. The Blood Queen hits them all, but Beta doesn't want to give up. She knows how much Claire means to Shadow, and she looks around and sees Shadow isn't there. She rightly concludes that Shadow is giving her the responsibility to take care of Claire, and she has to ensure Claire is alive because she doesn't want to fail Lord Shadow. She sets out to fight again, but she is too weak to survive. She eventually tells one of the assistants, number 666, to escape with Claire because they have other uses for them. Number 666 doesn't want to leave the fight, so she refuses to leave, but Beta reminds her that they have missions and they can't fail. They all wonder why it seems like the Blood Queen isn't injured despite how much they have been trying to inflict injury on her. They assume it is the work of the Red Moon, but Beta reveals that she has been injured. But she has been using their blood to regenerate her body. She uses their strength to get stronger, and that is another reason why they can't defeat her. Suddenly, they smell another energy. Upon looking, it is the Queen Fox, Yukime, and she looks at the Blood Queen. telling her that although she looks radiant and red, she doesn't seem so great. It seems like a party of all the top and powerful members of the tower as the juggernaut of the tower also arrives. He is angry that they are having a party without him. He gets angry at them and wonders why they haven't called him when the fight started. He joins the fight, but he doesn't fight for long as the Blood Queen releases a great impact of the red moon at them, trying to prove that he is stronger than the others. The juggernaut of the tower takes all the attacks to himself directly, and he is thrown to the wall. The Blood Queen releases a plague on them. Everyone there feels something growing on their body, and Beta is furious. She wonders what kind of audacity the Blood Queen have to do something like that in the Shadow Lord's portal. Suddenly, Claire disappears. The dust gets cleared, and Yukim goes to meet the juggernaut of the tower. She calls him a fool for taking all the heat at himself without trying to dodge. He is angry that the Blood Queen has defeated him. On the other hand, Claire wakes up in a fearful position. She finds herself on the bed, and she wonders what she is doing there. She stands up, and she notices someone in front of her, so she tries to ask the person what is wrong with her and where she is. The lady, Aurora, who seems like the doctor attending to her, tells her that her possession has been cured. She wonders if that means she is all right, and she asks Aurora to explain further, but Aurora tells her there is nothing more to be explained. She insists that she is taking care of Claire because Claire is closer to he and her possession has been cured because her blood has fused with that of the vampire blood. She screams at her, asking her to explain what she means better, so Aurora tells her about evolution. According to her, a scientist said humans evolved from monkeys, and monkeys were the first set of people to appear on Earth. And it was after monkeys enjoyed the Earth and their environment that they were able to become humans. However, other scientists believe that although monkeys were the ones who first arrived on Earth, it wasn't all monkeys that eventually became humans. It was the monkeys whose body could fuse into the environment of humanity that were able to thrive and become humans. That is the same with Claire's body. The blood of the progenitor vampire and the possession in her body had fused together and had caused her cure. However, she doesn't know how to control it. She is about to give Claire the key she needs, but she gets a notification and says she needs to go. Claire calls her back, asking her what she wants to say. Claire also notices something in her hand. Aurora tells her that it is what would help her control her power. Claire asks who Aurora is, and Aurora reveals she is only helping Claire because of he. She reveals that he is Lord Shadow, and she introduces herself to Claire as Aurora. As Claire realizes that she is his, the one she is being possessed by, she breaks out of reality and recovers completely from Elizabeth's blood curse. She claims that she has tasted true freedom for the first time in a month and acts like nothing happened just now. Beta recognizes the version of Claire as the Witch of Calamity and asks her what her business is in this time of frenzy. Beta follows up with another question, asking the Witch of Calamity where Claire is, and in reply, she explains that she has just changed her physical appearance slightly, just like the same process that Cid and his Shadow Garden team used to change their own. And in addition, the Witch of Calamity also explains that she only changed her appearance because she finds it much easier to move with her usual physique. Speaking of appearance, the witch finds her chest buttons too tight, and so she opens up quite a few buttons, not to give us weebs some fan service but because she is feeling uncomfortable. Now that we have cleared this part out, the Witch of Calamity turns around and decides to face the awakened version of the Blood Queen Elizabeth, wondering if she will be able to handle her power. As Elizabeth tries to blast the Witch of Calamity by raining her down with her blood magic, the witch replies, saying that her magic won't work on her because she is original, unlike Elizabeth, who is just a fake. She shows that not only her words are harsh but her actions too, as she turns Elizabeth's blood magic into pure drops of blood and counters it by attacking Elizabeth with her own blood magic. As Elizabeth fails to block this sudden attack, she gets cut in half but shows no emotions whatsoever, which makes the Witch of Calamity question how a fake acts to be fake. As she finds this absolutely intolerable, she follows up with another attack and tries to end it as quickly as possible. But Elizabeth recovers quickly and attacks back with the same magic, which causes the entire sky to act as if it were the Independence Day of the United States because of the sudden fireworks. Juggernaut from the distance also wonders what in actual hell is going on and asks the catgirl Yukim what she thinks of it since she is only here to make comments instead of fighting. Yukim comments that she finds this action sequence to be over the top and also commends the animators for not doing some cheap CGI animations. Anyway, the Witch of Calamity seems to have greatly overpowered Elizabeth with her magic. But she doesn't get satisfied just yet and gives Elizabeth a heads up that she will now use what she claims to be the most divine power in this world. As she attempts the ritual, her body fails to handle it, which gives Elizabeth enough time to heal herself. The Witch of Calamity also realizes that Claire's body isn't going to be able to handle her powers anymore, so she decides to leave and also tells Beta not to worry as Shadow is about to show himself. And he does, making the grandest appearance ever and keeping talking like an NPC. His shadow magic clashes with Elizabeth's blood magic, and the grandest showcase of magical powers greatly puts everyone in awe. Beta finds it weird that Shadow is wasting time instead of killing Elizabeth, as she strongly believes that Shadow can finish this fight in seconds. She soon realizes that Shadow is only stalling because he is trying to protect everyone else from Elizabeth's attacks, knowing that they are useless against her. And this realization makes Beta fall in love with the NPC protagonist all over again, and she begins to pray for his victory. Her cheering up for him gives him the final push to blast Elizabeth with the absolute badass attack, and he follows up with an even more W-Riz move by getting right in front of her face. Elizabeth summons her weapon to fight back, and they both begin to clash in the sky, which the animators do not show as they are not paid enough. Their clash comes to an end as Elizabeth finally acknowledges Shadow as the strongest person in the world. She asks for Shadow's name, calling him Good Sir, and he replies by using the strongest magic in the world that the Witch of Calamity was about to use, ending the fight. With Elizabeth neutralized again, the Shadow Garden team leaves the place, and Juggernaut 2 returns to his base, wondering when his chance will come to fight the girls of the Shadow Garden, indicating that he has acknowledged them to be worthy of his opponent. With some losing a lot in this frenzy, Shadow gets back from his NPC form to his loser form, Cid, and reveals to be eating a dumpling quietly while Mary is bidding her goodbyes to her newly made best friend Claire. As these two friends have created another opportunity for vampires and humans to coexist in peace, Cid also wonders if there will be another haven in the lawless city, but he couldn't care less and let Destiny decide everything herself for now. Time moves quickly, and Claire begins to show her concerns, wondering where her own destiny will lead her, and getting into depression. But Cid doesn't comfort her, as he believes that if she walks down her path on her own, she will improve as a person. Although he knows everything already, Claire reveals to him about her special powers that have begun to show themselves in her left hand, and she has also decided to solve the mysteries of these strange powers. Cid encourages Claire to do whatever she wishes and promises to be beside her on whichever path she chooses. As they begin to leave for their hometown, Claire asks Cid if he knows Shadow, implying that she has begun to get interested in him. But since Cid doesn't want to become the guy who gets his own sister to fall for him, like in South Season 2, he keeps his identity a secret. On the other hand, Queen Elizabeth reveals herself to be still alive, beside her long-awaited servant Mary, who has begun to serve her again. The only reason she is still alive is because she was spared by the NPC mastermind himself, and so, just like Claire, Elizabeth will also have to walk down her own path. With Cid full of hopes that everything will turn out to be fine, he bids his goodbyes to the lawless city, hoping that he will return her again to find it in a rather better state. That's it for this video, guys. If you liked my recap of this one, let me know in the comments, and kindly like this video and subscribe to our channel.